Okay. I think we're live. We are live. We'll wait for a few punters to jump on board. I tell you what, my next door neighbours love it when I talk to you. They absolutely love it. They get the kids to bed and they go, right. Now we've got 4 people on board already. So, and a lot of people watch it later on. So, and Bridget Jackson is here. Bridget Jackson, wonderful friend of mine. Welcome, Biddy. So, Cam Bagrie, economist, legend, fantastic speaker. Actually did a gig for me earlier this week. Client loved it. If you want someone to actually give it to you straight about what's happening in the economy, no bullshit, like, hey, this is what's happening, and customize it for your industry, then get hold of me at Essential Talent and we'll get Cam Bagrie along. I mean, you've seen him. He's everywhere. He's on ZB. He's on 1. He's on 3. He knows his stuff. He's bloody brilliant. And he's kind enough to join our little show, the Essential Talent podcast. So welcome, Cam.
Evening, Chief.
You bloody legend. Hey, before we get into a few questions, I'm going to share my thoughts on David Clark, and then I want to get yours. Here's the thing. I've got a theory on this, on why he would do that with Bloomfield in the background. I reckon that he knows he's, not long for this world. And I think it was important for him not to be on the record to accept responsibility. I think it's a tactical thing, because if it's not that, then it's pure stupidity, because he could have answered that question in so many different ways without throwing him under the bus, as I say. He could have said, for example, and it's just basic media training, he could have said, well, you know what? We all feel terrible for what's going on. I think collectively all of us take responsibility. There's so many different ways he could have answered that without going, it's Bloomfield's fault. But maybe he just doesn't register that. I don't know. What do you think? Give me your theory.
Oh, look, I'll give you my personal view of the situation. Look, to be fair, there have been some problems within the health ministry in regard to what's going on. And there needs to be ownership of that. But I think it's a little bit rich for the minister to come out and criticise the head of health for some system failures when the minister himself wasn't even following the system guidelines in regard to the lockdown. It's just hypocritical. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander, if you know what I mean. So look, my personal view is I think it's inevitable in some time. And Chris Trotter, who's a left-leaning person, was out there this morning on the AM show, and he basically said the guy's got to go. He said the Prime Minister's got to do something about this, because otherwise it's going to come back and haunt you. Now I'm not a political analyst in regard to that sort of stuff, but I'm an economist. I'm focusing on sort of getting the job done and that sort of stuff. And what I do know at the moment is that we need quality people in the right places. And what I've seen at the moment is that we've got a distinct lack of quality people in the right places. And we need quality people within the core government sector as well. They're really important jobs. Now, why on earth would you be putting your hand up for one of those jobs going forward if there was a minister that's going to treat you like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? This is where I'm just like, he didn't need to answer it like that, which I find quite disturbing. He didn't need to go that. There are so many different ways he could have answered that and sort of got everybody out of jail without going down that track. I just think it's I'm
not a political analyst.
I know.
But what I have done is that of managed people, right?
Yes.
And you don't dish them and you don't throw them under the bus in public. If there's an issue,
Private.
you talk to them privately and you express your displeasure through that mechanism.
It's management one, surely. God, seriously. You know. Okay. Let's get into some of your expertise. So things seem to be returning to normal. Stories of more spending and housing coming back. Is that a reality?
Yes, if I look at what's going on at the moment, yeah, we seem to be in that a little bit of a sugar phase sort of mode after, you're going without sugar for an awful long time. Yeah, so there's a natural element of pent-up demand that's coming through the system at the moment. We couldn't get out there and spend the money for a couple of months, so there's a bit of money in the wallet if you still got your job. Yeah, that money's now being redeployed. Yeah, if you look at normally over the months of March, April, May, and June, you'd see typically about 250, 300,000 Kiwis head overseas. Well, they haven't headed overseas. So the money's sitting here. Now, if they had to each spend about $3,000, there's about $3 billion that's suddenly sitting in people's wallets or sitting in the bank accounts. And it's not the Kiwi sort of way to sit there and actually save that money. They're more inclined to get out and spend it. So what we're seeing across a whole lot of market segments at the moment is a little bit of rejuvenation. We're getting back into it, pent up demand. You want to get out there and enjoy life a little bit. But unfortunately, if you look at what the economic reality is, and we're seeing it through COVID expanding its breadth around the globe, it's got its tentacles back in there in Australia. Look, the economic reality is that she's going to be a bit of a long slog ahead. To just prepare for it. Don't get out there and empty the wallet completely, so to speak.
Yeah,
make sure you've got a little bit of money for that rainy day.
Yeah, I'm with Cam Bagrie, economist and all-round good guy. Always so generous with his time. Comes onto the show. And if you want to book him as a speaker for your company, he can give you the rundown on what's happening in the economy, how it affects your industry, how it affects your business. Go to essentialtalent.co.nz and we will hook you up, the man. So thoughts on tourism, the Trans-Tasman bubble, that's gone for now then?
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago, if you're a tourism operator with an awful lot of international exposure, you're probably thinking, we're going to get there. We're going to come out the other side. Well, I'll tell you what's happened in the past 10 days, where the border control, to be honest, has turned into a bit of a fiasco. That's absolutely dented. Well, you can kiss goodbye to any idea of a Trans-Tasman bubble for a very long time. Now, in the near term, New Zealand has actually got a market for the tourism sector. So if I look at over the months of May, June, July, August, September, normally we see more New Zealanders travelling overseas than what people actually come into the country. So there's actually a market there of tourism spend that the local market can hoover up if they got their marketing strategies right and if people are actually prepared to get out there and spend that loot. Unfortunately, I think at the moment is that a lot of that money is being dispersed into other areas. People suddenly decided to upgrade the car. They might be using it for deposit on a house, or they're looking at it for upgrade the bed, potentially renovate the kitchen, the bathroom. We're seeing all these sort of anecdotes that are coming through. The tourism sector is still doing it tough, but the rubber hitting the road for the tourism sector is December, January, February, March next year. That's when we see the real big influx, the big numbers over that Christmas and post-Christmas when you see the Chinese sort of coming in. So in the words of your Backman Turner Overdrive, you ain't seen nothing yet. They really need to have that bubble opened up by around Christmas time. And unfortunately, what we've seen in the past week or two is that, that's looking a long shot.
So what's the ordinary punter missing? Like, is this the calm before the storm?
Well, it's natural when you go through what we went through in March and April, particularly April and into May, is that you wrap yourself in cotton wool. But of course, when you get let loose again, which we saw the second half of May and June, you suddenly find the bungee cords attached. So you bounce back out. You got a little more of a spring in your step. And New Zealand, up until about 2 weeks ago, was looking in a reasonable shape. And by reasonable shape, I don't think it's a good story. It was just a less bad story. It looked like we'd navigated the worst part of this. Unfortunately, now we're seeing COVID expand around the globe. You look at Uncle Sam, America, some of the developing countries around the globe, Brazil, India. They've got real problems because they don't have the quality of their healthcare to get on top of this traceability, migration strategies, these sort of things. So, at the moment, New Zealand still looks like we're in I wouldn't say a good place, but we're in a less bad place compared to an awful lot of other countries. The sad reality is that, look, the commodity sector or the rural sector's probably going to take a hit later this year, early next year, because if the world's moving more into lockdown, then people are not going to be spending. And that's going to be negative for commodity prices. The hit to the tourism sector, as I said before, that hasn't really turned up at our door. That's going to be December, January, February, March next year. And the canary in the coal mine, and the one that no one's talking about, is the impact of lower migration. If we go back and have a look at the past 5 years, migration growth in New Zealand has been responsible for about 40% of the growth. We've had a bums on seats economic model. Now that bums on seats model has now basically come to an end. Whether that be temporarily or not, we're not quite sure. But the likes of the construction sector, which is really fueled by more bums on seats and migration, they've got a pipeline out until the end of the year. There's still work there. But what we're going to see, I think, in the next sort of few months is that whether we're going to be building that pipeline for 2021. And I'm convinced that people are going to be getting there, prepared to get out there and build a new house when they're not too sure about their job. And if you take out migration, demand for new housing goes from about 37,000 units per year, which is what it's running at the moment. It's going to drop down to about 25. It's going to be running about 2/3 of what it used to be. Now that's a big punch to be delivering into the construction sector, and it's not now, it's a 2021 story.
Hey, earlier in that comment you mentioned bungee jump as an analogy, and it just got me thinking. Actually, it reminded me of the AJ Hackett thing. $10 million to AJ Hackett.
Yeah, looks like
what's on that?
$5 million up front, and depending on where the borders are open or not, there's another $5 million, which I think is a loan for the next year. I think the same day there's some news out that New Zealand ambulance services were sort of shedding up to about 100 staff. So I sit back there and I scratch my head in regard to what the hell is going on here. Because I can understand that we want to protect some strategic tourism assets, but jumping off a bridge, when did that become a strategic tourism asset? So my personal view is that this one's just corporate welfare. And I think we've overstepped the mark on this. If you're a small business owner running a cafe or a little business down in Queenstown there at the moment, I'd be pretty gutted. I'd be pretty annoyed in regard to what's sort of going on, because you've been playing by the rules. You're trying to get through, you're cutting costs, you're cutting back staff, and then all of a sudden the big players in town, you come along and scoop up a fair bit of that 400 million, that tourism fund. And I suspect, or I fear at the moment, there's going to be more big entities out there at the moment going to be doing exactly the same and selling themselves as strategically important, which is just hiding the fact that it's corporate welfare.
I'm hearing you. Okay, I think I mentioned to you before, I'm a bit of I love following US politics. It's a daily thing for me. And you've got Trump, doing his rallies and everything, and doesn't seem to give a shit about COVID at all. He's like, just, has a sign out the front going, "It's your responsibility. Come on in." There's a lot of stuff going on in the States. What's your thoughts on how the economy is performing over there? Because obviously we've got to worry about our own economy, but actually equally important is how all of our partners are going.
Yeah, well, New Zealand's heavily interconnected around the globe. We're a trading nation. So where the global economy goes, we're going to get hooked up in that story. And if you step back and look at where we were 3 to 4 weeks ago, it looked like the global scene was getting better. What's pretty clearly gone on is that there's still some elements of the global scene which we're seeing an improvement. But the cold hard reality is that COVID's come back in a lot of places around the globe. And there's a song I used to listen to when I was a lot younger by old Don Henley. I think it was, "Bye Bye Miss American Pie." I'm looking at America at the moment, and I'm shaking my head in regard to what's going on. This thing it's in Florida, Arizona, other states, and you're facing a real big challenge trade-off here between livelihoods versus lives. But even if you say, well, we're going to remain open, are people going to be out there shopping, going to the malls, going to the bars and these sort of things? I saw there's a bit of euphoria overnight because Boris has sort of announced that pubs can open in the United Kingdom, so that could be somewhat interesting. But if I'm looking at where we sit around the globe at the moment, a vaccine looks a long way off. And meanwhile, containing COVID is a little bit like containing crime. It's extremely difficult because you're always going to get rule breakers.
The other thing I wanted to ask you was, this whole thing with China apparently spying on Australia, and yet, it's a big trading partner, if I'm right, with Australia. There's kind of some serious kind of shit going down there, isn't there?
No, look, exactly. If you look at the relations, to put things politely, they're pretty delicately placed. The Chinese, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, came out with a warning to Chinese students not to go study in Australia. That's sending a pretty clear message in regard to we can hit you in the pocket.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts before I wrap up?
No, look, the general spirit of this, it probably sounds a little bit downbeat, but let's not forget about where New Zealand stands compared to an awful lot of countries around the globe.
Yeah.
We're in a pretty good space in a relative sense. And that still gives us opportunities to start to think about, well, what is the other side going to look like, the so-called fabled new normal or resetting? There's always going to be opportunities out of that. The big thing is to start to get those conversations going in regard to what those opportunities are going to look like, and hoping we see a little bit more creativity out of central government in regard to moving us a little bit further down that recovery path.
Hey Cam, one of our viewers, Lynn Wilson, has just asked, do you think we'll see negative interest rates here?
I hope not.
Why do you say that?
Well, if I have a look at the evidence in regard to what they've done in Japan and Europe, have they worked? Some people say yes, but it's very difficult to control for that compared to a whole lot of other things. If I have a look at Japan and Europe, they've hardly been what we call bellows of economic success. Negative interest rates place tremendous pressure on the banking system. I think the further we take interest rates down, the more we're actually creating an income inequality problem. Because what do lower interest rates do? They inflate asset prices. Who owns all the assets? The haves, not the have-nots. We've got a gap at the moment between what we call Wall Street versus Main Street.
Yeah.
And I think that we're in real danger of seeing things sort of kick back. If I look at the US Federal Reserve, the Reserve Bank of Australia, the Bank of England, the market's sort of been pushing all central banks that negative interest rates, we could go down that route. What we're seeing from central banks is that they're leaving the door open, but they're basically saying they really don't want to go there unless they really have to. And I hope we don't go there. My personal view is that they'll be ineffective. It won't work.
Razor Robertson from the Crusaders has joined Essential Talent today. Can you please give us a prediction on who you think will win Super Rugby Aotearoa?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think it'll be my team, the Highlanders. You know, they're in what we call a rebuilding phase.
My sister works for the Highlanders. She's on the payroll there. So,
I'll never leave them. I just think I've got a couple of years of sort of pain ahead of me as they go through that rebuilding.
Who are you? The Crusaders look pretty good, don't they? Jeez,
it'll be the top two will be the Blues and the Crusaders.
Yeah.
And if I look at just the quality of what they've got on the park with their Crusaders, it's not just it's like running a business down there. It's not just the quality of the players. It's about how you integrate them and actually make things work. It's about extracting that extra 5% out of the players, which also I think there's a whole lot of lessons for that in regard to what you can do in the business arena as well to extract that top 5% out of people.
Do you know what? That's what Razor actually does, and that's always come on our books, is he actually uses those skills to go into business and actually, you're absolutely right. In fact, what we should do, I've just thought about this, we should get a Razor and Cam combo happening. Actually, there's an idea. That would be hot. That would be hot. Anyway, my friend, we're so honoured to represent you. You go on all the big networks, then you come and have a chat with us. You give up your time, and we're really proud that we get to represent you at Essential Talent. And I know you did some work for us this week, and the client was absolutely stoked. So thanks for sharing all your knowledge with us again tonight. Really appreciate it.
No, keep up the good work, Shaun. You're going well.
All right, Cam. Thank you, sir.
Take care.
So that's Cam Bagrie. He's such a top bloke. Seriously, he's just, and this is the thing with our people that come onto our books. They're just bloody great people. Seriously, we're so lucky. There's no bullshit. We just say, okay, this is how we run our business, and this is how we make our money. We're really straight up with our talent. And they love it. They go, oh, that's really great. And go, we're really passionate about what we do. And to represent that guy, he's just such a class act. He really is. He's a good person. And then getting Razor on board, that's really big for us. And Megan down in Christchurch, in our Christchurch office, which is not really an office. It's more like a lounge because we all operate out of our lounges. She did great work there. So thanks, Megs, down in Christchurch, for getting Razor on board. I always remember something from my days at MediaWorks, and I learnt a lot from businesses in the Waikato, like iconic businesses, people like the Heathcotes, people like Kevin Dean. They'd come into the office. And if you're going through a tough time, like say a drought or something like that, you go, hey, how's business? And the top businesses never ever bullshitted you. They'd turn around, they'd go, well, Shawnee, I tell you what, she's pretty tough out there, mate, at the moment. She's pretty tough. We're doing it pretty tough. The sort of ones that were a bit dodgy would always go, oh no, business is great, it's going really, really well. But the top businesses always get it to you straight. They always go, nah, it's tough, or it's going well. And I always learnt that from them. Be honest with people. So where we're at, I just want to share this with you because it might help give you a gauge just from our small little business on how things are going. Geez, we did it tough. We did it tough through COVID. Oh my God, because there's no live performances. And that's essentially what we do. And we did webinars and stuff. And we did some in New Zealand, we did some in Australia, and that was really cool. But people are so over Zoom calls. it's just not the same. There's something about connecting with someone in a live performance. There really is. And what is comforting for us and what is encouraging is we've had a really good June. It's gone really good. People have gone, okay, let's move forward. Let's get our conference underway. Let's get a really cool speaker along. We know it's important, and I thought I'd share that with you because maybe that will give you a little bit of hope in your business, because it's a fairly niche thing that we do. But thankfully, we've had a really good month. Long may it continue, and I hope everything goes well for you in your business. I really, really do. You're probably a little bit like me when you hear these latest COVID figures. You go, "Oh my God, we do not want to go into lockdown again." I think that's natural for all businesses, big businesses, small businesses, that you actually think, this would not be good. But let's be positive. Let's just hope that everyone has got everything under control. And yeah, I had fun. I really love chatting to Cam. And I just ask questions and shut up, because I find that whole thing really fascinating. He's such a freaking cool guy. We've got some good interviews coming up. I may not do as many. I'd rather do a few less and make them a bit better. Do you know what I mean? I think I got into the trap of just going, it was almost more for my own well-being, to be honest, of going, I just need to be positive through COVID. I want to talk to all my talent and just learn from them and keep inspired. I think I might do a little less and try and do them a little better. So yeah, we've got David Higgins again for a repeat. Well, not a repeat performance, but we're going to chat to him again next week. We've got these interviews going on YouTube, and if you're like me and you like to listen to a podcast driving along, get a bit of inspiration, go to Apple Podcasts, go to Spotify, just look for the Essential Talent Podcast, and we've got 2 seasons worth of stuff on there. It's all free. We don't want your email. We don't want any of that. We don't want $29.95. You just help yourself. Go for it. From some really inspirational Kiwis, seriously. And the 2 most popular so far, not that it's a competition, is Lee Hart in at number 1, who, man, I'm going to interview Lee again because I loved that interview so much. And we had really bad reception, unfortunately. And so I want to interview him again because he wasn't trying to be crazy or funny. He was just talking about his craft, and it was really, really interesting. It was so cool. It was a great interview. So I'm hopefully going to do that again. And the other, and at number 2 is David Higgins. And I had texts, I had emails from people going, man, that was so good. We really, really enjoyed that. So if you're driving along tomorrow, look for the Essential Talent Podcast. It's actually on iHeartRadio as well. Scott Newth sorted this all out for us. So it's the Essential Talent Podcast, and it's on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and you just go for it and have a listen to the David Higgins interview. It's really good. The guy's so freaking smart. Seriously, he's a smart guy. That guy, not an arrogant guy. I think he suffers from a little bit of tall poppy stuff. I've heard a few things. Oh yeah, Dave Higgins. It's like, well, yeah, okay, whatever. This is the thing. We can't be like this in New Zealand. We haven't got time for this shit. It's like, the guy's really great. We need more people like him. Yeah, Lee Hart at number 1, David Higgins at number 2 as far as podcasts. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Had a great night tonight. Really good. I had a brilliant day today. If it was 1 to 10, I'd probably happiness scale, probably a 13. Pretty good. Pretty cool day. Keep going. It's hard. It's hard. It's bloody hard. You know, it's challenging. You have to think outside the square and do different stuff. And it's, you know, the future is uncertain, all that kind of stuff. But be cool. Just be cool. Be positive. Don't run around with a clipboard going, I'm so busy. Just be cool. Think outside the square. You got this. All the best. Talk to you soon. Bye.